So as I was introduced, thanks very much for that, Callan. I am privileged to have dual roles within the Dandelion program, and I'll explain a little bit about, for those of you who might not know as much detail as others, about what the Dandelion program is, very briefly. I'm the team lead, like Callan said, which means that on a day-to-day basis I get to work with the guys in our team who are on the autism spectrum, which is a delightful opportunity to see the world in a way different to the way that I'm traditionally used to seeing it, and I think that for many of us that's the case. And let's talk a little bit about that. What is the Dandelion program? What are these pods we're hearing about? What we're trying to do is provide 3 key objectives to people in the context of providing career paths for people who are on the autism spectrum. I'm really pleased that the other speakers we've had first have touched on some of these things, and thanks to Darren for giving us some of the details of people's perspectives on why they want to be part of this program. And the reason they want to be part of this program is to contribute to society so that they can feel connected in a way which is not always easy for people on this spectrum to do. The way that we do this is to provide them with life skills training in the workplace, executive functioning training skills, and in addition to that, obviously focusing on a particular technical stream from a technology perspective. And the 3 streams that we've talked about and that are up there are to do with data science, testing, and also to do with cyber security. The one that I deal with, which deals with monitoring operations and automation, I'm happy to tell people offline what that actually means. Why are we doing this? I think we've already had the conversation today very much about why we're doing this. And if you look up on the board, I'm sure there'll be some things that resonate with each of you. It's not just about the individuals, it's not just about the clients, and it's not just about making money. It can be about all of those things, and that's what the program's about. It's about making providing a service which solves problems for people, which enables people to feel part of the community, which helps people's self-esteem. For me, the 2 that resonate most are the ones about giving people career paths and giving people a sense of dignity in the work that they do. Meaningful work that they're able to do, which contributes to society. And as Darren mentioned, some people don't necessarily get a lot more one way or the other, because if they work more hours with us, then they get less money on their disability pension. But they're still happy to come to work because that's what they want to do. They want to be able to contribute. And that's one of the reasons that all of us involved with the Dandelion program are so proud of it and so excited to be part of it. I really should look back at my time here. But we don't do this on our own. We do this with a group of people. We do this with an ecosystem of partnerships, and we do this with an ecosystem of related and adjunct programs that we've developed over time because we see the need for it. One of those is the Work Experience program, where we take guys from a university setting, we give them some workshops and mentoring, and then they take some programmed robots that they've programmed, and they take them out into school communities and work with people in autism units, the kids, which gives the kids an idea of a path that they could be going on, and it gives those who are involved in the program an opportunity to mentor someone else, which I'm tearing up at saying, because that's such an important thing to feel part of that. We have the employment program, that's the pods that you've been talking about, which we run with a range of clients, ANZ and many of the others who are here today included. The Autism at Work partnerships that we have as well, and there'll be people talking more about that later today. The neurodiversity hubs that we have in place are within universities, and those university hubs, the neurodiversity hubs are designed to provide mentorship, to provide support networks for people who are neurodiverse to come to these places so they can get the support that they need to help them complete their university degrees, because the highest rate of dropouts of university students happen to be those who are neurodiverse. And that's something that we're trying to reverse in our processes. And last but not least, as you've heard from some of the research partners that we have here today, we have a plethora of institutions that we work with, well-recognised institutions across the globe, that we're delighted to be able to partner with to be able to feed data back to them and receive the benefits of that data in return. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So I guess I started talking about data a bit there, which makes people think, well, what's he going to talk about next? So what am I here to talk about? As the Chief Technologist, my role is to try to make sure that we have the tools that we need within the program to support our staff, that is those who support our individuals who are participating, to support our participants, and to make sure that the whole thing sticks together, has all the stickiness that it needs. Obviously, we're a technology company, and what we want to do is optimise the opportunities for us to use technology to support our staff. And as we know, for people who may not be as comfortable with talking with individuals, what this enables them to do is to interact in a different way. Our program, from a technology perspective, covers a number of different areas. And we use the term technology a little bit loosely because it actually covers our documentation framework, which are key components, and our support plans, which are key components of us being able to deliver to our client base what we need to deliver to them. Obviously, there's a lot more underneath the covers, and we're not going to talk about all of that today. It's taken us a long time to develop these tools and regimes that we use. What we will probably focus on today is the middle one, which is program tools. And we'll pick out a couple of those. But the idea behind them, as we've talked about data before, is to appropriately assess where our programs are up to be able to feed that back into our cycles. And you can see from an individual perspective to help improve the individual, but it's also about helping to improve the program. So what I'm going to do is talk about 3 particular items. Sorry, I keep putting my hand up here. It's problematic from the sound. Is the sound okay? Yep. Good, eh? All right. Life Sherpa. What's Life Sherpa? Life Sherpa is pretty much what it says on the box. It's a means of helping people along their journey through their life. It's a tool which we use. It's an app which sits on people's mobile devices. And what it enables us to do is to set up routines for individual participants in the program, which help them to do the day-to-day things that they need to do. And not just things during work time, things in non-work time as well. And we work with the guys to work out what sorts of routines that they'd like to have in place. They can select from a standard set that we have, and we can develop individual ones for those people as well. How does it work? Well, what happens is, at certain times, depending on how the client wants it set up, we have reminders or alarms can be set up. It can be for Joe at 4:47 in the morning to be able to get up so he can do the daily tasks that he needs to do, or whatever it happens to be. So they can be inside of work and outside of work activities. Inside work, it might be that people want to have a routine to help them to prepare for a meeting. Right, what do I need to know? Where am I going? What room is it? Who are the important people in the room? Where do I need to, are there any rules around where I need to sit? Do I need to know anything else? What's the scope of the meeting? How long is it going to go for? What are the expected outcomes? All of these things can be very overwhelming for, well, anyone really. But the idea is to have checklists in place that can help our participants through those processes. As they're completing that, they can go through, tick off the boxes, the items of yes, I've done that, yes, I've done that. And in addition to that, our autism spectrum consultants, our ASCs, can also see from their device what's going on. So someone can click on a particular routine and it'll pop up on the ASC device and say, oh, good, Jacinta has started her activity now, excellent. If they need to, they can poke that person through the app, of course, just to say, hey, are you going okay? You seem to have paused for a while. Is there anything you need help with? The guys can reach out through the app back to the ASCs or to other people if they need to, so that they can get further help. One of the great things is, though, it's not just about, like I said, the workplace. There are other interested parties that you can add who are able to see the progress of a person's activity through a routine. So that could be their psychologist, that could be their counsellor, that could be their parent. But in all cases, it needs to be with the consent of the individual who's involved in the process. But what that does is that widens that community. Matt was talking about family before and how you need to include the entirety of an individual's own ecosystem. And this is a fantastic tool for enabling us to do that. We configure it up, like I said, for the individuals, so we take into account what their individual needs are. And what does that give us? That gives us, well, on the ground level, operationally, mechanisms to help those people develop and to help them do routine activities. And as we practice routine activities, whether on the spectrum or not, we get more used to them. And so the principle is there that if we practice those enough, then we can work independently of the app eventually, or not, as the case may be, and that's fine too. But what it gives us is data that we can then use to help to feed back to our participants and say, hey, wasn't it good how you did this 5 days in a row? Or, you said you reckon you've been doing this regularly, but if we look at this, I reckon there's still some room for improvement there. What can we do to help you with that? So the idea behind the data behind that is that we can also see which routines might be useful or not. We might develop a routine that people go, oh, actually, you know what? No one's really using that. Why is that? And then we can explore those things as well. So there's some really powerful data here, and we're able to use that to improve the outcomes of the individuals. And we'll talk about what else that means in just a moment. Workplace performance questionnaire is the next thing I'm going to talk to you guys about. This is work that's been done in conjunction with a number of our research partners, and I'll click through to the next slide in a second. Don't be scared by the term performance. It's not about performance management. It's about making sure that we understand where people are up to in their processes and how they're developing as individuals over the period of the program. One of the things, there are 5 categories involved in this assessment process with 31 questions in that, and participants fill those questions out on a 3-monthly basis. Say there's 2 different models we have. We have one for a more regular basis, and it depends on the nature of the pod that we put in place with our client. And they fill these out. Also, their support supervisors fill those out, so their ASCs and tech leads potentially fill those out as well. And then we're able to compare those results. Oh, look, so-and-so said that they're doing well at this and poorly at that, etc., etc. But you know what? That's not what our experience is. We're seeing something different, and that opens the door to a conversation. Just like with the Life Sherpa app, if something's not going perfectly, that opens the door to a conversation as well. So what this enables us to do is to then gather that data, and the spreadsheets that you can see in the background here were actually developed by one of the guys who's a member of one of our pods in Brisbane. So we're pretty excited to have him involved in that process as well. This enables us to pull together data about how individuals are tracking, and then to work on treatments or improvements that we can make with those individuals. What else can that data be used for? That data can be used at an aggregated, de-identified level to help us to understand how the program's doing, to see where it is that we need to improve, to see where it is that we're doing well, and also to show our clients, because let's not forget, this is something which needs to be a service provision, as Matt was saying before. It needs to be about capability. No one wants to give out us money for us to support this program unless they're getting something back from it. So we need to be able to demonstrate that. As you can see here, the WPQ results that I mentioned before go into contributing to that balanced scorecard, so that we can share that with our client on a, as I said, de-identified basis. So where to from here, and what else are we working on? Plenty of things, and it's all pretty exciting. But I think from our perspective, the important thing is that we're having an impact. We're having a social impact which enables us to contribute to the community, and for the community to see these results, I think is really exciting. And that impact is on our participants. There's some figures that I was made aware of just recently, which is that if we have 100 people in our program and that provides them with 20 years worth of work, we create $465 million worth of GDP. That's pretty awesome. Not to mention gross domestic happiness, which is an undermeasured thing within our society at the moment, but don't get me started on that because I've only got about 30 seconds left. But what this enables us to do is achieve those goals. Some other things that we're looking at, we've already talked about the research on mental health that's coming up, and in addition to that, we're looking at some things such as how we fit in with agile methodology project management, which is an emerging tool and is actually really great, I think, for people on the spectrum, because it's very physical. You move bits around, it's got colour, and that's something that we're looking at, including from an electronic perspective as well, because there's plenty of tools out there that we can use to do that as well. That's just one example of the other things that we're thinking about. Mindfulness training is something else, not technically technology, but also something that can help with mental health. These are a couple of the ideas that we're working on at the moment, and there are plenty more, but I've run out of time to talk with you. But I really appreciate you taking the time to, whoops, there goes the alarm, to listen to me and give me 15 minutes of your time today. Thank you very much.